welcome to LexTalk World Talk Show presented by ClickAway Creators. Today we have Nidhi Singh with us. Nidhi is currently practicing as a counsel before the Supreme Court of India and an empanelled lawyer with the Delhi High Court, where she engages in both civil and criminal litigation and has a decade of experience in competition laws. She also serves as Deputy Director for Center of Competition Law and Policy at GLA University and Adjunct Faculty in Law and Economics at NLSIU, Bangalore, and NALSAR, Hyderabad, and NUJS, Kolkata. She has presented her work on competition laws at Harvard Law School, Oxford, Cambridge, Columbia, Yale, and so many other. So now, without further ado, let's dive into more about her. So, hello Nidhi, thank you so much for joining us.
Hi. Thank you so much for having me over. It's a pleasure to join.
Same here, pleasure is all ours. And now I would like to ask you about a complex legal issue that you worked on and also describe the complexity and tell us how you approached it.
So when I started my competition law journey as an intern from a law school, and then eventually having worked as a competition lawyer in a law firm with the regulatory side on the government side, or for that matter in the academia, and then moving now to an individual independent practice, I got an opportunity to work on a leading case in India of competition issue named MCX versus NSC. And this was by far one of the most interesting cases that I had an opportunity to work on. This was the first case that involved the issue of something called as monopoly leveraging. So for the clarity of the audience who might be listening to this interview, I would just like to explain what monopoly leveraging means. Monopoly leveraging is a concept wherein a firm which is dominant or say is authoritative in a particular sector in the market and has a good amount of share and a market base in that particular sector, is trying to leverage that monopoly position to enter into another market where it is not dominant as such. So the idea is that if you are dominant in one market and you try to use that position in a way that you try to leverage that position to enter in a market such that you are causing discomfort and disadvantage to the other competitors who are also operating in the market which you are trying to enter. So what happens, this creates not a level playing field. And the idea is to have a fair competition. So this is what monopoly leveraging means. This case, MCX versus NSC, was a case where NSC was found by the Competition Commission of India to be leveraging its monopoly position in the I would say non-currency derivative segment to enter into the currency derivative segment. And this is where the issue to understand how actually monopoly leveraging could be explained in a situation in a jurisdiction like India was quite challenging because our competition law is very new. So the challenge that I faced while dealing with this case was that to find adequate jurisprudence on this issue was very difficult. And we had to convince the commission as to how this could not be an issue of monopoly leveraging, because I was representing the NSC at that point of time, and NSC was ultimately found to be engaging in predatory pricing and as well as engaging in monopoly leveraging, which is punishable under Section 4 of the Indian Competition Act. So the way I approached this issue was that we looked at number of leading case laws in the European Union, like the Tetra Pak case. These cases really helped us to understand as to how we can understand the characteristics of the product well and establish that this could not be a clear case of monopoly leveraging, with amounting to an abuse of dominant position. Though we were not successful in doing so, however, the understanding that the Indian competition law is primarily based on the EU competition law did help us in presenting a novel view before the Competition Commission of India. So this is by far one of the good legal issues, complex legal issues that I've worked on, and I really enjoyed working on this issue.
The pandemic saw some courts begin moving towards more remote proceedings and availability. And is this sustainable and a possible way to increase access to justice, in your opinion?
That's quite an interesting question in the post-COVID era, or for that matter, in the COVID era as well. There are both advantages and disadvantages to the system when things move online and when things go offline. From the perspective of safety concerns, it is definitely advantageous. For instance, if I have to give you, a couple of days ago, we heard the Honorable Chief Justice of India say that this Omicron is quite dangerous. I myself have been suffering for around 25 days. You must have read in the news. So, and also having said that, we must not ignore the fact that when the second wave hit India, we lost more than 1,000 lawyers of the Supreme Court Bar Association. And that's quite a huge number. Though the gravity is not as such as it was during the second wave, but we cannot undermine the fact that the issue still persists. So definitely from safety concerns, online hearings are definitely more feasible and more advisable also at this point of time. But again, having said that, you also need to appreciate the kind of jurisdiction we are practicing law in, where the majority of population still lives in rural India and they do not have access to internet. And how do they find good lawyers, right? And usually, how do you find good lawyers and doctors? By reference, right? So if a clientele has to come to the Supreme Court and the lawyers are not there, how do you reach out to a lawyer? So mostly you see that, you do have, people coming in to the Supreme Court and they are looking for lawyers, and colleagues refer each other for certain cases and for a particular kind of cases. So in litigation, it works this way. And there are many petty cases for which, be it at the lower district level courts, or for that matter, the High Court or the Supreme Court, at all the three levels, cases do come by references. And the lack of physical appearance does impact the clientele base to a large extent. It has affected the income of many lawyers. We cannot deny that. Many young lawyers, for that matter, who could have thrived on a better clientele base had the hearing not been online and offline. But like I say, the correct way in this could be a hybrid mode at this point of time, where online and offline is encouraged both, such that because a balance needs to be struck.
Exactly. And how would you rate the current legal system drive toward increasing access to justice? Is there a tangible movement in closing the justice gap?
If I have to look at the current legal system in India, I would say, as a young generation lawyer myself, I do see things in a lot of positive direction. And Look, loopholes are there in every system. It's not that only India has loopholes. Every jurisdiction has. America has its own loopholes. UK has its own loopholes. But I would like to focus on the positives and the advantages that we are moving in and the right direction that we are moving in. I do see a lot of things getting digitized, and I do see a lot of young lawyers being very proactive. They have been kind in offering their office space even during the COVID era, when lawyers did not have access to a good office space to deal or to interact with their clients. So the first step to access to justice, even before the case reaches the court, I think is the lawyer, right? So how honestly are you dealing with your client when he or she comes to you with a lot of faith? So just like when a patient goes to a doctor, he goes with a lot of faith that, he'll be cured. And especially when a client is coming to you, that, if you could get the best possible relief from the court, the idea is that he's trying to entrust in you a lot of faith. So I do see that shift and change in the younger generation, where they, more than the fact of money minting, there is definitely a sense of dedication involved to get best possible relief to their clients. So I do see that competitive, that ambitious, that integrity angle in the younger generation, which is why I do see that this gap to access of justice could be reduced in coming future with the kind of lawyers coming in. And then moving on to a little bit higher level, where I do see the elevation of judges from the bar to the bench at the high court level and the Supreme Court level, adding a lot of value to the legal system. And the judiciary also, I do see that proactiveness in terms of flexibility and the agility to adopt to technology, such that you are closing the gaps between access to justice, between the haves and the have-nots. So I see a lot of things happening in a positive direction to bridge this gap in access to justice.
What is the importance of good legal education in establishing a successful law practice? How does it help in building a robust clientele base?
So that's quite an interesting question, because I think access to good legal education definitely improves your mindset and your perspective towards handling the legal issues at hand. So as a lawyer, I feel that if you are quite serious in your law school and quite dedicated, and you've taken your legal education seriously, it does build a kind of an attitude to deal with the clients with same professionalism. So as a law student, when you are doing moot courts, writing papers, or for that matter, performing well in your exams, getting good, decent grades, I would say, definitely helps you in, putting yourself in a routine, which I would endorse as the first attitude towards building a good legal practice. Having said that, then I would like to move on to the second issue of developing a good argumentative skills and legal reasoning skills. So as a law student, I feel that the fact that I took legal research very seriously in law school, and I tried to do a lot of analysis with the kind of answers that I used to write, and think through over the legal issues, whatever our teachers taught us on. So that really helped me in building a good legal practice in India. And also, when I say a good legal education, where you also get some exposure to universities abroad, or for that matter, any Ivy League universities abroad, that does compel you to think, to think out of the box. And it helps you in putting forward, I would say, innovative arguments before the judges. and the judges really appreciate that too. So this is one advantage of getting good legal education. And when I say good legal education, I do not deny the importance of getting through Ivy League universities, or for that matter, any good law school in India. But having said that, I do not also say that if you come from not from a top-notch law school, you cannot do well. The important thing is that, you know, you have to do your readings quite well. So that the idea is that on an average, as a practicing lawyer, you are expected to read more than 300, 400 pages in a day. So if you have built that skill at the law school level itself, in your in your adolescence, that really helps you in your early, late 20s and early 30s, when you are struggling to become a good lawyer. So this is one thing that I would like to lay emphasis on. And in terms of building a robust clientele base, to that I would add that I did get a lot of clients for my practice when I went abroad to study. And I do have, because with the kind of connections you make, your friends are also practicing in law firms in London or the United States of America. So when they do have to refer to some clients and they are looking for some legal opinion or an advisory when the business wants to enter into India, they do refer to you because of the kind of connections you've made as a law school student in the when you go abroad to study. So this is one way I feel that I do get a couple of clients even from abroad, owing to the kind of exposure I've had out of India. So overall, both the, I would say, the attitude with which you approach your legal education while you in India, and with the kind of exposure that you go and when you get when you go abroad, both of them adds a lot in developing a good legal practice and developing a robust clientele base in whichever jurisdiction you're practicing in. It would hold good for any jurisdiction. Yeah.
As you well know that time is money in any profession, and in legal it's most of all. So how do you ensure to make the best use of a time as a lawyer and contribute to the overall growth of legal community?
So I think that's quite an interesting question. And to that, I would add wherein, a very close friend of mine, tells me that, that Nidhi, when God puts you in a position, and when he gives you something in life, the idea is that he's chosen you for that. And he's chosen you for that specifically because you should give it back to the society. And the idea is not to keep it to yourself. So starting with this, I would like to say that as a lawyer, having the little privilege of decent education and a decent work experience, both in India and abroad, I always wanted to bring this education to my homeland as well. So the way I translated my experience, Indian experience of working in the government sector, in the law firm, or in the private sector, or for that matter, having worked with the Parliament of India, I translated that experience and my legal education from abroad by developing a curriculum that I could teach in the national law schools in India. So I do practice from Monday to Saturday in courts, and I use my weekends, usually Saturday evenings and Sundays, to to help the learners in national law schools about competition law. And I have developed a curriculum about comparative competition law, wherein I deal with the US, European Union, UK, and the Indian jurisdiction, and offer them a comparative study of the competition laws in these national law schools, which they would otherwise get access to if they only leave our country and they go outside India. So whatever I learned from abroad, I brought it to my own country. So this is one way I feel that I am giving back as a visiting faculty to these national law schools. And apart from that, I also work as an adjunct faculty at GLA University in Mathura. So that also gives me an opportunity through the center that I have developed there on competition policy and law to contribute to the academia in terms of developing I would say, or advocating for a good competition law understanding in India for that matter. And as a practicing lawyer, I contributing as a growth to the legal community. I've been quite receptive in taking interns from both national law schools and non-national law schools, and offering them paid internships, because as a student I felt that nobody paid me when I was interning. At least if you can't afford a lot, you could pay them a bare minimum, at least for the labor they are putting in for your work. And this was the student aspect of it. And while addressing my job as an attorney or as a lawyer in the courts, I do serve as a panel on the legal aid groups of couple of government organizations for that matter, or the Delhi High Court Middle Income Legal Aid Group. So all of this helps me in contributing to the society or the community in a better way, and that gives you a sense of fulfillment also, right? So yeah, this is it from me.
Thank you so much for sharing such great insights with us, and we look forward to having a chat with you again in the future on some other trending topics in the international legal world. So for our viewers, if you like this chat with Nidhi Singh, please like and share this video, and also subscribe to Click Away Creators YouTube channel to appreciate what we do. And you have more coming from the legal space. This is Nikhil for LexTalk World signing off.